everyone. Welcome to my session today. Today I'd like to make a live coding session about custom localization, and we will see what I'm doing in the custom solution for localization topic. Yep. My session is showing to you how to make a custom, what is custom solution in the Flutter side and what we use in the Flutter packages and etc. And we will see a whole architecture, whole manager code in my coding side. Yep. And first of all, before to begin my session, let me introduce myself. My name is Veli. I'm senior mobile developer at Classes. Maybe you can heard about my company because we are working on Oxford City in England. If you want to learn more detail, you can generally mobile development topic concept, but have a different normal YouTube channel because I try to share about real life scenarios in my channel. And finally, I'm the Google developer expert and Dart and Flutter side for 6 months. Yep, that's me shortly, I think. Maybe we will talk about next time more detail. Let's move on today what we do and what is my plan. I want to show my best website on AutoDraw or online draw website. First of all, I want to try about what is mean about localization. You know, this time we create many applications like this, and we are going to write maybe login in button. Is okay, is normal. But if your customer in a other country like Turkey, and this time you have to support this language in native country. What's mean? Normally it's mean English. Okay, that's not problem. But if I come from Turkey, I want to show maybe Girish. I have to show Girish text. Is the mean that Turkish login, and your application if support like this, you can say it. My application have a multi-language support, and my application has supported localization for other country like Turkey, like etc. Yep, and this okay. Turkey, England, and etc. It's okay, it's no problem. And what we do normally in mobile side, in mobile coding side, normally we have like JSON file, like this, like n, yep. And we are going to add key, login key, like this, yep. And we are going to add what's mean login in English, like okay, login, it's no problem. After we are going to add tr file in the coding side, and we have to write same case in the new file, but different. We need to add what's mean login Turkish, like Turkish mean that Girish, yeah. And it's okay for normally mobile development side, and I think it's it's no problem, is always working. It's not a problem, but sometimes have a mistake in the developer or product manager, etc., who want to edit this file. Normally, we need to add maybe new text like welcome, and we need to add welcome. Yeah, okay, this string is okay, no problem. But you are developer, and I'm going to add tr file. In the tr file, it's merhaba. Yeah, okay, no problem. But your developer has a mistake, and developer forget this word in the string, and your developer going to publish new version App Store, and maybe your customer or your product or your user you're going to open your application, and he will see this broken text, and it's a very problems in the mobile side, and your customer going to maybe, or your product manager call to you immediately, and he said Veli, or what's your developer name, he said, can we fix this problem? Maybe this problem, yeah. Can we fix problem? And normally, yeah, you can say, yeah, I fix it, but I need to minimum 1 or 2 days, because we have Apple development process, and sometimes it will be finished 1 day, sometimes 2 days, sometimes 2 hours. I don't know what is measured in the site, but there is a big problem in the mobile clients, and my problem is solve this problem in the runtime, and we will see what we solve this problem in the coding side, and we will understand what we solve in the Flutter project. Yep. And other problem, if user start the application again, maybe I need to draw again. If user start the application again, normally we have to this file. Okay, that it will be see this data, but my solution working with backend services, and if user if user hasn't connection in any network, and user don't see any data in the mobile client like this, and is the other problem, and we are going to and we need to fix. We are going to add caching scenario with this problem, and we will solve this problem with the caching, and that's okay. And finally, there is other solving problem. What's the problem? We have too many string. Maybe we have too many string file in the localization keys, and I don't want to add more complicated code. What's more complicated? But I don't write the. I don't want to write more lines, or I don't write many coding words in the strings. I want to just add a text like welcome, and if I going to add this function like this function, it will be mean that I'm listening to mobile. I'm listening to language changes. If I user change the language, I will change directly in. I don't add any more coding or any more detail or any special code this line. I just add this function, and my text will be understand. I can I'm listening to mobile client. I'm listening to mobile manager, and if I change any problem, if I change user localization, if I change or text values, I'm going to immediately change the new values. Yeah. That's my other solving. We will see how to solve this problem in the 3 parts. 2, 3, 1. Yep. Let's move on. I'm closing my string file, and first of all, maybe I want to show my backend services. Yeah, you can see there is my little backend services. Maybe I need to open this file. Yeah. And this project used the Firebase, but without packages. I just use Firebase REST services option. That's mean if I want to fetch this data, and if I going to add this URL with .json extension, you can see your data has come directly your client. Yeah, I will use this power in my mobile site. And we will fetch this data, first of all, this list. After we will fetch these string files, and we will see our languages on mobile client. Yeah, in mobile client. Yeah. Let's move on coding side. Yeah. Normally, I'm always making a 0 project, and I'm trying to solve my my coding side fully, rest of all. But this time we don't want to lose more time, and I created a default project, and I just added a simple coding like wheel, like services and etc. I will try to tell about what I added this project, and after I'm going to close it. And after I'm going to add my coding solution with this project. Maybe I'm going to open emulator. Yep, it's working. It's working. And maybe I'm going to stay on top. Okay, fill it. Okay, and let's look on what I'm added before to begin this project. There is my professional structure thinkings, a core feature product. This time we are not focusing this project structure, but if you want to learn what I'm doing this layer, maybe you can visit my website, we will on there, and you can change the language English. You can learn about what I'm doing in foldering, naming, atomic, or etc. We write whole means with the team, and we show it the whole structure, drawing structure, or etc. This website. You can visit this website, and maybe you can build about more detail this website. And I return back my coding sites. What I'm doing first project, you can see I just add a simple drop down and a simple text and a simple scaffold file, scaffold widget, and I just add drop down component. If I change my languages, you can see my languages come from backend side. If I going to change maybe any strings with my backend, maybe welcome, where is what I'm used, I'm checking again. How old are you? Maybe if I have any problem, I'm going to change how old are you, maybe 2, yeah. And if I change this text, you can see I fetch it again and I show it this data. There is okay, it's solved one problem, but right time is not ready to use because it works just only this page. If I want to use whole module, it's some problems, and we will solve this problem. Yeah, and lastly, maybe I want to show my test layer. I think it's very important for the whole mobile developer. I'm always trying to test. First, maybe I don't write more time or long time about core testing, but I'm always write service testing my project. You can see my I wrote my test layer, and I fetch data first of all. And if I done, is any problem, is not have any problem, I'm going to implement the service layer. Yeah, you can see, yeah, the data has come, it's not problem. It's mean that, yeah, you can see, you can use this service point, it's not a problem. And after there is any problem, that's another problem, I navigate to back my project layer. Yeah, you can see, I just checking fetch data, and this data come from map. You can see, I just fetch data map, and if I show any data, I change maybe, if I change maybe name, and if I wrote name, you can see name strings in your application, and for localizable format. And let's move on. Edit my solution, edit my what I'm do 3 problems. Sorry, I'll maybe if I open, yeah. Let's move on. First problem. What is first problem? We are going to implement manager layer, and we manage the whole strings in the first point, and we need some packages for this layer. First of all, I will use provider. If you want, you can select other state management scenarios, but I love provider actually. I'm going to add provider. Sorry. Yeah, that's okay. And I'm always try to add tag like state manage. Yep, because sometimes, you know, and if you write a production project, or if you write a business project, maybe you can use many packages, and sometimes it's confused this layer. If you use the text, it will be better usage for understanding what I'm use. And other needs, hive. Why we need the hive? Because I said, we need the caching, and I'm trying to implement hive. I love hive because hive working both speedily, safely, and this package supported generic caching embedded. Maybe you can visit the hive.com. I'm not sure what's the website. Yeah, you can visit the website. You can learn about what is do in the generally. Of course, I think is the most important point, general adapter. I love it. And finally, maybe you can see this package the first time. I want to show detail because it's on my own packages, Vexana and Kartal. Vexana is a network manager package. Of course, I write the Vexana region top of the DO. Whatever different the DO, I added some business solutions. Which one? Maybe Dovland file, base headers. If you write a token, one instance, you don't add any, you don't add to token or etc. in your network manager instance, or you can make of course, important point, general parsing. I give a general parsing, and other point, you can use refresh token. Actually, I love this feature. Sometimes, our token is going to die or problem, or I don't remember. Unexpected, or I don't remember what error code. Unauthorized, yeah, unauthorized. After your block is working, and you can just write your refresh token services, and your instance work again with the new calling and etc. You can read the detail in test and source code, and I supported embeddedly caching. Right now we supported the caching file, hive, NoSQL, I don't remember, and we support many caching library in embedded. You just add expression time and your response caching directly in the your project. You don't add a new code for caching. Yep, that's it shortly. And return back my coding sites, Vexana. And Kartal is an extension library. I love it. Other side, maybe you can look after the meeting. I wrote my enterprise solutions, and I wrote many enterprise projects, solutions like context extensions, like string extensions, like etc. and the packages. And you can you can use this package maybe if solve your simple problems. Yep, it's okay. Let's move on the coding side again. I'm going to product layer. If I need the custom solution for the product, I'm going to add this layer, and I'm going to add product manager dot. Yep, and I'm going to create class product manager. Okay, and normally I said this page working single page working whole requirements or whole business, and I need to change this business whole module, and I'm going to log in V model. Of course, it's a simple V model. I just extend state. If I create a simple project, I prefer this, and I copied this code and pasted my V model, and I've replaced this point. Yep, I copy and paste this layer, and change loading. I remove this code, and I added language services, and I want the language services in the products. If who want to use this layer, you should be give my values language services, and I'm going to add language services equal language services. Yeah, language service. Yep, that's okay. And after I will going to fetch my first of all list. After I fetch it detail. Yeah, this is my shortly plan, and I will write these values. If I want to listen this data, change or add or etc., I'm going to add change notifier. Change notifier. It's similar, is okay. And if I want to use whole module, I navigate back, I navigate to main Dart, and I'm going to add requirements for provider. I add change notifier provider, and notifier provider. Yeah, I can use create. There's no problem. Create, and that's okay. Maybe I add. I need to use builder method, and you can see what we need: context and widget or child, and I return back my app or application. Yep, and lastly we need to return data, and what we use language manager or project manager. I don't know, product manager. Yep. And you can see you have to return product manager, and product manager needs the language services, but you can be careful. I don't give a directly instance. I need to interface with testable code. Right now we don't have a time, and I don't tell about what we do in testable code. But you can use always interface for mobile site. For next time, if I have a time, you can test for manager or etc. And we need the product manager, network manager. I'm going to add product network manager. Yeah, that's okay. And I'm how to start my project. That's okay. Right now I don't see. I'm going to back language view model and remove whole coding, because right now we are listening to product manager layer. Yep. And return my view. You can see a problem. What's problem? First of all, we don't use this. First of all, we need to call language items. Where is it? This file. In this, we added the product manager, and we call it this instance with. If you want to listen, you can use context.watch extension. It will come from provider. You can import provider. If you import this point, you can see this watch extension. After, you can write what you listen, and I added product manager, and you can call it directly. It's no problem. Right now, it's a command I will add. And lastly, I copy this code again. Language. Maybe it's something. No, it's a similar naming problem, but no problem. I will change this variable name and fetch it again. I'm going to back product manager. You can see we don't call it fetch and data show. Maybe we can add this point. Yeah, we can add fetch and data show. If everything done, maybe we can add this point notify listener, or if you have a changed language detail, you can say have to notify whole listeners, and I added this code in this point, this function. There is no problem, and I had to start project again. You can see my data. Yeah, you can see this data come from backend services, and I'm going to call it this code. Right now doesn't work because we can't call this code function, and return back my code. If you want to use only callback, or if you want to use only one time, you should use read. Maybe you have to use read and call it change language detail data. Yeah. And we will see if change my data. That's okay right now. And if I change my data in the backend side, maybe where is name? Your name is very maybe, and I'm return back my code. I check English again. You can see my data has come from backend services. It's okay, and we solve what's the solve? We solve a broken text problem. Maybe it's your developer has a problem, and right now we fix it the backend services. And we show it immediately these values, and we saw what are solved. If you want to, maybe user want to add in the app bar, maybe this text. If user want to use this text, any page, you just add this key, and you just change maybe welcome app or demo. Yeah, and you can add this only this key, and you can see this text in whole project, and we add just a similar point there. Right now we solve this problem. And other problem, if user start the application without network connection, we need to caching. And you remember we added the hive, and we're going to add hive solution in this point. And I'm going to add cache manager. First time I just write a simple coding. After I'm refactoring the clean code principles. Right now I'm going to add class cache manager, and whole cache manager need to function like init, because we keep the data on locally, and we have to initialize our solution, share it, and etc. And maybe we just look at how to work. Maybe. Sorry. I forgot. Okay, no problem. Let's look at how to work hive caching. Hive is working as a box. If you init any hive going to add a box your locally and with your string like English, and you can keep data in the hive. If you add the more data, maybe Terra, and your hive going to add a new box, and hive going to add your data in your box, and you can read the data every time in the hive. There is a hive solution, and I think it's a more powerful. And we need to, of course, we need to this reason initial function, and we need to string k, because we open the box with the k. After what we do, we need to add other functions, save items. We fetch the data like map string, and items. We need to keep data with this. And finally, maybe we need the other function get items. What we return, we return this data, map string, and return this value. Okay, no problem. I will fill it this data after the whole function. And finally, I'm going to add function clear. Always we need maybe clear. And what we do in the hive solution, I'm going to add box, and you can say primitive type without any extra code, but you want to add a generic code, you should be at a generic adapter usage and hive type and etc. Right now, if you use primitive like map or string or integer etc., you don't add more extra code. And I said I keep data like string. Why I add only string? Because hive working a NoSQL, and just keep data key values. Yeah, I have key values, and I can use directly. I can keep data with string directly. Is the no problem. And going to back again, I say box maybe, no problem, and private. Okay, maybe it will be nullable. Yeah. Maybe if user forget it, I can at this point and call the initialize function. Box equal to Flutter hive dot open box with this key. But it is a function, it is a feature, and we need to await with the async. Yeah, this is okay right now. And after I'm going to call save, and you can use put methods, put all, put all, you can see is a need to map, and we have to map data. We can use these values. Yep. Items. Yep, there is no problem. And finally, we return back this data, you can see, and we return box dot to map. Yeah, it's return to whole map values, and maybe you can use only get for any strings, but right now I return to map. And if any problem, I will return empty map, and I need that cast with string. Yeah. Okay, that's okay. And finally, I need to call box.clear it for clear whole data in the box. Yeah, it's okay. And I'm return my product manager, and I'm going to add this point final cache manager, like cache manager. Yep. Maybe it will be going to add directly, or you can use like this cache manager late final, and you can add other points cache manager, and you can equal to only constructor time this value. This comes from cache manager. Yep, that's okay. And I'm going to navigate to main.file, and I added the other requirements cache manager. But it's wrong, I think. Yeah, cache manager. Okay, that's work. You can see this point. Yeah. And I'm going to back again product manager, and user if fetch the data, and I'm going to save this data with save items. This point with language items. Yeah, that's work. And await. Sorry. What? Oh, this is a feature. I forget it. This point. Yeah, and you need to add async. Yep. Cache manager, it needs to await method, and if user fetch data, I keep it this data, and if user want to fetch data, maybe first time, you can see first time this data, and I'm looking this data. If cache manager, of course you can add a more coding is have a data on etc. Right now I just focusing this point is not empty. Yeah, if my data is my box not empty, I'm going to save it data. Language items is equal to come from cache manager data, and I'm going to add notify listen at this point. If I have any problem, maybe my box is empty, I'm going to add this point, and after fill it with data. What we do, and maybe we need to look at debug for more understandable. Yep, and this time I have a little problem. What's the little problem? We don't right now. If we keep data after we show it the data always the same, because we don't force it data. We fetch it maybe this time values and save it, and user always save data. And if user change data, going to looking my caching layer, and caching layer say, yeah, I have data, but your backend is say I changed it. Maybe you can add some backend functionality about is have any updated data, and your backend has maybe send a socket message or send any postback function or etc. And backend he said, really you should be refresh your caching data, and you can fetch data again for updating. Yeah, this time this is a simple problem, but not the big deal. And I'm going to back coding side, edit a breakpoint, cache manager, look at the cache manager, it's, yeah, call it the cache manager, but I think it's empty, and is not empty. Yeah, it's not empty. Change language detail, it's save data again, language items, cache manager. It works. It's not, I think, problem. What is come from problem? Save. Maybe we don't add put all. Yeah, it's okay. Put all. There's no problem. Refresh my coding site again. I fetch it. What's the problem? Yeah, cache it. Language items. Look at cache it. Yeah, that's okay. Put all items. Okay. There is no problem. Maybe we forget it. Initialize function. Yeah, we forget it. Initialize function. It's come from this point. We need to call cache manager.init, and you can say we need to add default languages. We forget it, and I'm going to maybe change this point, and I'm going to add string this selected language. First time I can say English, but always use enumeration, of course. And finally, I will add this point. Of course, I will show to what solve this point later on in lastly. And I'm going to add language items and faire, maybe faire. And I can save my default language items and that name. Yep. And if user change data, and I can say my default language has changed, just like this. And going to add selected language this point, and I need to call await. Maybe right now is working. It will work. Because, finally, yeah, I forgot it. Hive initialize, sorry. Hive need to initialize before the application start. And I'm navigate to main dot. I need to call this point. Maybe I fetch. Yeah, I call it again. And we need to hive dot init Flutter. Yeah. Okay. If you have a splash screen, you should be called in this splash screen, because I don't prefer to call this point. Sometimes your application show more white screen. You could be careful. You can call this splash screen, and your whole initialize. I think if you need any initialization, you can call it splash screen. You don't call it this point, and call it again. Right now, I think it's working expected. Yeah, I can see cache manager right now. Yeah, I check fetch data, and I can see my not. Yeah, you can see it's come from cache manager. Yeah, it's working no problems. And if I change my data, you can see if I change my data, I save it data in this caching. But be careful, we don't change we don't open new bugs, and maybe we are going to look at selected language is not equal to key. Maybe not equal to key, default key, and I'm going to change my selected language key, and I'm going to call it cache manager.init again with this key, new key. And after I will keep data whole new boxes. Yep. And you can look at again, if you change data, you can see faire and etc. If your default language Terra, like this point, if your application start again, you can see this data come from backend services with Turkish. Yeah, that's working good. And lastly, you going to view layer. I don't like it this code, because you can see it's a maybe complicated code, and I'm going to add local file, and going to add local enums for manage all this problem, and I'm going to add enumeration local case. You know, if you use easy localization, like easy localization, I love it, this package, and it's come from this class name easy localization. And I'm going to add my string in this point as age question. What we have, demo, hello, name. And I'm going to add extension for this keys, for this point, local keys extension on local keys. And I'm going to add function tr. It's same from his localization. I love this package. And I'm going to add, I will return string, and I need to context because I will watch the localization changes, and I'm calling context.watch and with import provider, and I'm going to add what we have, product manager, and I can say I visit the I'm look at this caching file, or I will listen to language items. I'm going to call my map with this, and what I'm return with this enumeration name. If I don't have data, I will return empty string. Yeah, and return back my coding site, and I clear this bad usage, and I call it local keys like name with pair like translation extension. And if I go to back like this point, like demo, yeah, it's solved last problem. You remember we are generate a custom solution with the extension point and with the enum enumeration. You can see there is a very useful point. We just call it name key, and if we have any new data, we just add it to this point, and we are going to call with this enumeration. And if user have any data or any etc., you can just at this point, and you can call it directly, and you don't need any participle or any extra code. Yeah, there is a Flutter solution with the provider. And lastly, you remember I generate a cache manager, and I said you can always write a test table code, and I'm going to add abstract class this point I cache manager. Yeah, and I'm going to add a whole function in this point without initialization bugs. Yep, and I remove this function, this detail, coding detail, just is a template. Yep, and I try to use generic function, and I'm going to add t parameters, and yeah, string key I need to this point, this is no problem, but I want to save items. I change this point with t, and if I change return data with this point, I return t, and if I want to use this, maybe this point, I call it extend iCache manager with string. Yeah, and if you use if you want to use cache manager hive, you can add this point, this code. There is no problem, and you can add like this string. Maybe if you use like this, it will be better. Getter, yeah. Bugs, maybe it is useful. Or we can actually we don't write a cache hive manager. Hive manager is okay for generic usage. Why I don't add this code? Because maybe you want to use other caching solution, shared and etc. You just add this point for this layer, but this time I'm going to add override function. There you can see override function, and I will keep it data with the generically. And if I use maybe your, if you want to use new classes, you are going to add cache manager, maybe list, and we are going to add extend cache manager with this list or integer and etc. And you can going to add, sorry, you can go at this point, and you can fill it this data. There's a work expected, and I don't like it. I'm going to back. I don't like it directly call cache manager, and I change this code iCache manager. It's work expected, and you can see cache manager. We don't have get I. We need to T parameter. You remember? I add the string. Yeah, there is a useful usage instead of normally getting instance, and it will be always testable, and you can write always your custom solutions. Yep, I think that's my session. Okay, and to sum up today, what we learned. First of all, we are manage the data from backend services for a whole time, and after we are going to add product manager layer, and we learn about how to implement our custom solutions, language detail or etc., and we manage secondary problems, and lastly we learned about our language, how to manage language files in this local keys extensions, and it will be better usage for Flutter site, and we learn about testing code and etc. Yep, that's my session. If I have any question, maybe I can add. Lastly, thank you for attending for my session. If I have any question right now, you can ask me, or you can ask another question. Or my presentation, my session is not a beginner or medium. Maybe it needs some advanced because I try to implement interface, etc., or other points, but I want to show to object-oriented power for the always, and you can understand if you try this code, and you can understand what I'm doing to generate them. Lastly, maybe you can, you don't forget this point. Normally, we are going to add some supported languages in the iOS file. Okay, I said you can control your file in the runtime, there is no problem, but if you have English, Turkish, French, and etc., you have to declare your Xcode, your iOS native site, and your application will be shown to other countries. Yeah, there is the other points. And thank you for attending again. If any questions, you can ask me always social media channel. And if you want to learn more detail, I have to share my article in the Flutter community. Custom, yeah. You can read this article. Maybe you can learn more detail, because I try to understand more concept about localization and etc. And you can follow me my YouTube channel, HardwareAndro. Yeah, this is my channel. And generally, I share Turkish videos, but by some videos I try to share English in globally. Yep, that's me. Thank you for attending again.
Okay, thank you, Veli. So that's